You have everything you thought you wanted: the career, the relationship, the achievements lined up like trophies on a shelf. And yet, there's still that feeling, that quiet ache, that sense that something essential is missing. You scroll, you buy, you plan the next thing, but the restlessness remains. The mind keeps searching, and nothing you acquire ever fills that space for long. Why? Because you're looking in the wrong direction. In the early 20th century, a yoga master and physician named Swami Sivananda observed something profound about human suffering. He watched people accumulate wealth, status, relationships, and recognition, only to remain fundamentally unhappy. He wrote, "The ignorant man seeks in vain his happiness and peace in perishable external objects. He has no peace of mind. His desires are not satisfied." This wasn't judgment. It was recognition. Sivananda understood that we're conditioned to believe fulfillment lives outside us, in the next promotion, the next relationship, the next purchase. But external things are temporary, conditional, and so the happiness they bring dissolves like sugar in water, sweet for a moment, then gone. Today, we simply invite ourselves to turn inward and recognize the peace that already is. This teaching offers a quiet space to understand how to return to your natural state, not by adding more, but by releasing what obscures what's already whole. Sivananda called it the realization of the self, not the small self, anxious about the future, clinging to the past, defining itself by roles and possessions, but the deeper self, the awareness beneath the noise, the stillness that exists before thought, the ocean of peace, as he described it, that remains undisturbed even when the surface churns with waves of circumstance. And he didn't speak in abstractions. He gave a path, 7 practices, 7 directions to guide the mind back home. Think of your mind as a mirror. When it's covered in dust, desires, distractions, compulsive thinking, it cannot reflect reality clearly. You see distortions, projections, fears masquerading as truth. But when the mirror is clean, it reflects perfectly, effortlessly. Sivananda's teaching is about cleaning that mirror, not by force, but by patient, consistent practice. The first practice is to calm the mind, not suppress it, not fight it, but settle it, like a snow globe shaken violently. The flakes swirl chaotically, obscuring everything. But when you stop shaking it, when you simply place it down, the flakes settle naturally. Clarity returns on its own. Your mind works the same way. Most of your suffering doesn't come from circumstances. It comes from the restless, agitated quality of thought, the constant commentary, the endless planning, judging, comparing, worrying. Sivananda wrote, "Purify your thoughts. Avoid unnecessary worries. Be always cheerful and smile at your worries." Smile at your worries, not deny them, but recognize that most of what you worry about never happens. And even when difficulty arises, the mind's dramatization of it causes more suffering than the event itself. So, the practice begins with vigilance, with watching the mind's tendency to spiral, with questioning, is this thought true? Is this thought useful? Or is it just noise? In modern life, this is harder than ever. Notifications arrive. Your mind is perpetually stimulated. perpetually distracted. But peace doesn't arise in movement. It arises in stillness, in the gaps between thoughts, in the moment you close your eyes and feel the breath without trying to change it. The second practice flows naturally. Release desire. Not healthy ambition, but the compulsive grasping that makes you believe happiness lives in the next thing. Sivananda's instruction was radical. Become desireless. This sounds impossible. We live in a culture built on desire. Advertising exists to manufacture longing. Social media amplifies comparison. But Sivananda wasn't asking you to become passive. He was pointing to the tyranny of compulsive wanting, the way desire multiplies. One satisfied, another arises. The practice isn't deprivation, it's discernment. What do I actually need? And what am I chasing? Because I believe it will finally make me enough. Sivananda suggested starting small. If you have 4 shirts, keep 3. If you check your phone 50 times a day, make it 40. Not as punishment, but as experiment. To discover that you can need less and feel more free. Because every attachment is a subtle form of imprisonment. You become dependent on external conditions for your inner state. But when you loosen the grip, when you hold things lightly, you discover something remarkable. You can enjoy without clinging. You can participate without being owned. You can love without suffocating. The third practice, live in the present. Sivananda's words were simple. Yesterday is gone. Forget it. Tomorrow is not here. Do not worry. Today is here. Use it well. Your mind doesn't naturally live here. It lives in memory and imagination, replaying the past, what you said, what they did, what went wrong, or projecting the future, what might happen, what you need to prepare for. But the past is a story. The future is speculation. The only moment that actually exists is this one. Right now, this breath, this sensation, and yet, how often are you fully here? You're eating, but thinking about work. You're with someone you love, but mentally elsewhere. You're walking, but scrolling. You're alive, but barely present for your own life. The practice is simple, though not easy. When you notice you've drifted into past or future, you gently return. No shame, no frustration, just return to the breath, to the body, to the sensory experience of now, because this moment is the only place peace exists. The fourth practice is to cultivate virtue, not as moral superiority, but as purification. Sivananda taught that qualities like kindness, patience, forgiveness, and compassion aren't just nice ideas. They're the natural expression of a clear mind. When you're caught in ego, you're reactive, defensive, quick to judge. But when the mind settles, when the heart opens, virtue arises effortlessly. These weren't commandments. They were invitations, because cruelty, judgment, and selfishness don't just harm others. They poison you. Every time you speak harshly, you feel the contraction. Every time you act from ego, you reinforce the illusion that you're separate, isolated, alone. But virtue dissolves that illusion. When you serve, you recognize connection. When you forgive, you release the past's grip. When you give, you experience abundance, regardless of what you have. The fifth practice is to know the divine within. Sivananda called it Atman, God. But the name doesn't matter. What matters is the recognition. You are not just the body, not just the thoughts, not just the roles you play. Beneath all that, there is awareness, consciousness, the silent witness that watches everything arise and pass. God already dwells in you, not somewhere far away, not only in temples or scriptures, here, now, in the core of your being. This isn't belief, it's direct recognition. In meditation, in silence, in moments of profound presence, you catch glimpses of it. The sense that you're not separate from life, but life itself experiencing this particular form. This changes everything, because if the divine is your nature, then you're not broken, you're not lacking, you're not fundamentally flawed, you're temporarily confused, temporarily identified with the transient, but your essence, your true nature, is untouched, whole, complete, always has been. The sixth practice is meditation, not as technique, but as lifestyle. Sivananda was uncompromising. Never give up the practice. Be regular and systematic, because everything else depends on this. You can read about stillness, talk about presence, understand the concepts intellectually, but without practice, it remains theory. Meditation is where you actually taste the peace you've been seeking. He wrote, "The fire of meditation quickly consumes all evils and sins, not through punishment, through illumination. When you sit quietly, consistently, patiently, the patterns reveal themselves, the compulsions, the reactivity, the stories you tell to avoid feeling. And in seeing them clearly, without judgment, they begin to dissolve. You don't need an hour. Start with 5 minutes. Close your eyes. Watch the breath. Let thoughts come and go like clouds. Don't engage. Don't resist. Just watch. Over time, the mind learns a new way of being, less reactive, more spacious. The seventh practice is determination, courage, unwavering commitment to truth. Because this path isn't always comfortable. The ego resists. Old patterns fight back. There will be moments when you want to quit, when it feels easier to go back to distraction, to numbing, to the familiar suffering you know. But Sivananda's instruction was clear. Be bold, be fearless. This isn't recklessness. It's radical trust. Trust that what you're moving toward, peace, freedom, truth, is more real than the temporary discomfort of letting go. Trust that you're stronger than you think. The spiritual path demands everything, but it gives you yourself, your true self, whole, undefended, free. So how does this ancient wisdom meet modern life? You're not a renunciate in an ashram. You have responsibilities, work, relationships, bills, notifications. The world pulls at you constantly, but that's precisely where the practice lives. Calming the mind might mean turning off notifications for an hour, taking 3 conscious breaths before responding to a difficult email, choosing a walk in silence over another podcast. Releasing desire might mean pausing before making a purchase and asking, do I need this? Or am I trying to fill a feeling? Unfollowing accounts that trigger comparison. Living in the present might mean putting your phone away during meals, making eye contact in conversation, feeling your feet on the ground as you walk. Tiny returns to now, 100 times a day. Cultivating virtue might mean choosing kindness when you're tired, apologizing when you're wrong, helping without expectation of recognition. Knowing the divine within might mean taking 1 minute in the morning to sit in silence and remember, before the roles, before the tasks, There is simply awareness, and that awareness is what you are. Meditation becomes 5 minutes before bed, or in your car before work, or while your coffee brews. Not perfect, not transcendent, just consistent. And determination becomes getting back up when you forget, when you react unconsciously, when you fall back into old patterns, not with shame, but with gentle persistence. Sivananda knew something we often forget. Transformation isn't dramatic, it's cumulative. Small shifts, repeated daily, compound over time. You don't wake up one morning suddenly enlightened. You wake up and realize the restlessness has softened, the compulsion has loosened, the peace you were searching for was never absent. You were just too distracted to notice. He wrote, "Mysterious is this peace, wonderful is this peace. Realize this peace, which passeth all understanding. Not the peace of favorable circumstances, not the peace that depends on getting what you want, but the peace that exists regardless, the peace beneath the noise, the peace that is your nature, not something to achieve, something to recognize, something to return to, again and again. You're not separate from this peace. You never were. You've just been looking everywhere except where it actually lives. Not in the next thing, not in the better version of yourself, not in some distant future when everything finally aligns. Here, now, in the stillness beneath thought, in the breath moving through you without effort. This is the invitation, not to become peaceful, but to remember that you are peace itself, temporarily convinced you're the storm. So, what are you actually seeking? What is the restlessness really about? Could it be that you're not missing anything at all? That you're simply not present enough to recognize what's already here? If this teaching resonated, if something in you recognized itself in these words, let it settle. Don't rush to the next thing. Sit with it, and if you'd like to continue exploring these depths, subscribe to this channel, not to accumulate more information, but to remember again and again what you already are. For now, close your eyes if you can. Take one full breath and simply notice the peace you've been searching for has been here all along.